Alright, welcome back guys to another mid-core deck profile. That name's probably just going to stick. I keep hearing it come up in videos, so mid-core is definitely staying. Anyway, so this, it's bugs. It's bugs. I got first place at both locals this week with this deck. You know, terms and conditions apply. But I got first place, undefeated, didn't lose a single game. I did draw one though. That was my mistake. That was a misstep in the combo where I probably should have won game one against him. And then, yeah, we'll go into that later. But, so the reason why I picked up this deck, because there's a mate of mine on the Wednesday locals, and he plays insects all the time. And I dueled him, and I barely get to duel him ever, despite the fact Wednesday locals is quite small. But I dueled him the other day, and I drawed him in game one, and he ended on nothing. And then I drawed him in game two, and he ended on nothing when I was playing the Allure Snake Eye. And he's like, oh, I just can't play through the draw. I'm like, there has to be a way for this deck to play through draw. Like, it cannot just die. Because I understand where it can be drawed, and why that would be so impactful, and why it would suck so much. But I'm looking at it, and I'm like, because the insect pile of cards are broken. Like, there's so many cards in that cover the insect archetype, right? That are just, like, absolutely kind of nuts and just riddled with extension. And I get that, like, a lot of them add, but we'll get into it in a sec. But it's like, obviously, there has to be a way. So I put together a list that I sent to him, and I'm like, this is roughly what I'm thinking. And I kept working on it, and I was watching some videos. And I'm like, oh, there's more here. And then I figured, well, this is the list that I want to go with. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it just so that it's not like, hey, here, take this list that might not work. I'm gonna give it a shot. So yeah, I ended up getting first place at two locals, which, by the way, even when I was playing better decks, I wasn't getting first place at multiple locals in a week. So whether or not that means that the quality of player has gone down, but I did beat Tony on the Wednesday and then drew against him on the Friday, and he is probably one of the better players to go to any local that we go to. And he was playing Unchained, which is actually a really poor matchup for what this deck tries to do, but unlike him, this deck doesn't really run out of names. So we'll get into it. So it starts with Battle Wasp stuff. The Battle Wasp stuff is quite nice. So three Sting. Sting adds a Battle Wasp on summon. And also, he's a monster effect. Negate. So he's a targeted effect monster, negate by tributing another insect. Which kind of sucks to capture himself. At one point I thought this was the way around Nib. It is not, because it's a monster you control. It's a face up. It's a Desiree. It's practically a Desiree for monsters, right? And then it's 3 Rapier. This is new. This is what makes the deck tick now, to make the Battle Wasp stuff a bit more cohesive, but I think even then, like, it just makes going into your synchros a lot easier. I still think it would have been formidable before this, but this stuff definitely just took it up a notch with consistency. But he dumps an insect to place a Battle Wasp Wind and then summon himself. And then so since it goes place and then summon, his own summon triggers the wind to add another Battle Wasp. That's normally where you start getting drawled, but if you're not dumb, you should be fine to play around that if you're expecting a droll. People tell their drolls really, really well, because they're like, oh, I've got to put this droll down. And then he also, in the graveyard, you can banish him, target insect, and drop their level by 1, which did come up. Didn't win me the game, but did come up because I used a Nib and a Sting to make the 12. One Pin. Pin had won me some games. It definitely won me some games, because he burns. You summon him, you activate the effect, he burns, then you go about your combo. He's like the third thing that you summon in the entire thing, and your combo is stupid long. The combo is ridiculous long. I never did the full combo, because I'm like, I've got enough. I don't need to keep going. Once you get to these 2 specific cards, which I'll get to, you're normally pretty good, right? So he just specials himself to control an insect. Which was this one? Twin Bow. He just special summons himself. He's just a special summon. You're locking the insects from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, and he makes a second attack during each battle phase. I don't care. But he just summons himself. You don't need anything on board. He's just up. Boop, he's there now. He's a cast hero. Duelist. Level 4, that's important for the combo. Normal summoned, that kind of sucks. Target level 3 or lower insect monster in your graveyard. Special summon that monster. In defense, but whatever, alright? And then the other one, let's just summon a battle wasp if he's destroyed. That's never happening. Never ever happening. Ever. In your entire life, I don't think. But it's cool that there's more there in case stuff does happen, so you want to remember it. So that's like the Battle Wasp lineup. It's incredibly neat. It's incredibly tight. It works with itself really, really well. Because then there's Battle Wasp in the extra deck as well that you go into. And then, we'll talk about how it all kind of comes together. So that's the Battle Wasp stuff. And then you run 3 Resonance Insect. This could be at 2. I think I never went through more than 2 in a turn and never really needed a third in follow-up. Because you can also recycle it with certain cards, depending on what kind of build you play. So there are abilities, though, for you to recycle your Resonant Insect anyway. But he's also a fine normal summon if you've already got specials on board, or if you like if you've run through this line already and you still need a normal something, or you have your extra normal and normal this, he's still a fine normal, like it's perfectly fine. And then this card is the thing that I think plays around draw really well, which is Soma. Target one monster you control, just one monster, which means if you do your normal combo without Soma, you can get around Nib this way too, but it never really came up too much because normally getting to this body is better. You special summon it, book the thing that you targeted, then you can reduce this card's level, these are 2 effects, by 2 or 4, and if you do special summon crawler monsters from different names of your hand, deck, or graveyard, whose total level is equal to the amount reduced. So you go done by 4, summon 2 level 2s from anywhere, which means all your crawlers are good dumps off of Battle Wasp Rapier and stuff like that. And then you can, the more Somas you have, the more you can summon back in follow-up turns, right? Which is kind of nuts. 2 Scout Buggy. You will normally, ideally you can't, I think you can almost like put this at 2 and this at 3. Because I think normal summon needs to get to Cicada King is better than summoning it off the Link 4, the Hercules Beetle. Because I think with the Hercules Beetle, arguably, you'd want to go to the big guy to get the counter trap, which is, the counter trap's nuts as well, by the way. Like, that stat put in work every single time I played it. Like, just stuff like stopping an aggregator from negating my Cicada King, stopping Abomination from popping stuff twice or 3 times, I think I did it to Tony. And then this deck, because they're insects, you run a lot of one-offs. You run a butt ton of one-offs. Goki Pole, when sent to the graveyard, at level 4 insect. Level 4 specifically. Then, and this is the important part, because this has come up multiple times, and I did it specifically for this reason, because people don't stop this because they're just expecting it at level 4. But if you add a normal monster, you can then summon it and then destroy a monster on the field with attack greater or equal to that special summon monster. So it's a free body, right? Which I get adding a level 4 just to extend, but if you're going into a board, Goki Pole just starts breaking stuff. This thing outed a Caesar because I'm assuming, because Tony could have negated it, but I don't think he cared. He's like, oh, I'll just wait for something more important, right? But realistically, that Goki Pole just outed his Caesar, and he'll probably know in the future, hey, that's kind of. So I'm going to do these one-offs in importance, by the way. So Goki Pole's probably the most important one-off. Scare him off being second. This thing just wins games on its own. You summon it back off Cicada King, which is why you're playing a bit of protect the king around Cicada King to get this out, because chances are they do not have the bodies to beat over it. It is 2300, but whatever. Supply Soldier of the Indestructible Insects. When you're an effect monster, when an insect activates its effect, you can summon it on a second chain. Right? But if you're responding to an opponent's insect monster activation, you can negate it and then summon it, which is kind of cool, but the mirror is probably a very, very rare anomaly in this game. And then on field, you can activate its effect, and Fusion from hand or field. Not even using himself. You don't have to use himself, but you do because he's not doing anything else. But he falls under a resonant insect target and a retaliating sea target because he's got less than 1500 attack. You call targets of Dendrite and Scepter. The effects don't really matter on these, but they can as well in case like you open crawlers and you just want to set them and pass to hopefully go through it. So I think Spine and the other one that looks like a bunch of floating crap are better targets for this. I just don't own them, and I don't want to print every single card for Dex. Begram, better Doom Dozer by a lot. I won a duel against Ryziel because of this card, because it banishes from hand and graveyard, whereas in Doom Dozer, I think this banishes 2. So there was this point against Ryziel where he was playing the Math Mech version. He started with a set card, Super Factorial, Duo Drive with a material under it, and Detonator with 3 materials under it, and Cross. So I ended up going Harpies first with my only non-engine for the hand. I went Harpies Feather Duster, blew the back row, he forced the Super Factorial out. He goes into the link 3, or to the rank 4 with 3 material, which gets him a hand rip, and he hand ripped Praying Mantis, so I did get lucky there. But also has a negate under it, right? And after a bit of screwing around and getting through to the link 2, I was like very low on monsters in the end. But because one of my monsters was still sitting in hand, I still had an insect in hand. I ended up going into the Stag Beetle, the 5, using a Mantis and the 2, which I could summon back, with Resonance Insect being one of the banished targets. So I banished it off the 2 to dump the Beargrim, and the Beargrim could banish 2 from the graveyard, 1 from the hand to summon back, which allowed for a board wipe, because this has a board wipe attached to it. Your opponent can activate monster effects in response to your spell trap card effects or activations, which is really cool. And then once per turn during your main phase, you can destroy all face-up monsters on the field except infected plants. So he's playing Ryziel. So it ended up being like, Ryziel had 1 more material under it, I battled into it, he protected it, I battled Beargrim into the Allen version, main phase 2 effect, pop the whole board, so I'm sitting on a Stag Beetle and a Beargrim, which is crazy. So this is actually really, really good. 1 Butterfly, I never cared for it. I think there was one point where I wanted to. This is really good under Droll. Like if you get Drolled on this ad, this is a really good ad off the Droll, if that's the route you have to go, right? You haven't gone through the Battle Off stuff. Because then you can special from hand. Anything else that you would add adds again, so they're kind of dead. So that's why I'd probably keep it in. And then if you banish it, in the end phase, you get to draw up to the different types of your link monsters from reptile, insect, or plant. You're always ending on an insect, so you've always got like at least a draw. Only issue is you don't play a whole lot of non-engine in the deck, so it's like, there's a bit of a caveat there, but you play for follow-up and stuff like that, which is nice. So yeah, it's almost on the cut list, but because it's good to add if you're expecting a draw and it's your first ad, once again, hand dependent, this is a really, really good ad. Retaliate ANC is practically just another Resonance Insect, but it's also a hand trap as well. Never use it for the hand trap, but it can get you into the game in a format where spells are summoning more. But right now, I think everything's pretty monster heavy, so it doesn't really matter. You probably could cut it now, or even like a 2/2 with the Resonance Insect, but I do think you probably could just get cut for now, because you're never going to get the hand effect off, or the hand trap effect off, because no spells are really summoning anything at the moment from what I can remember, other than like plug-in. Even Malice doesn't do it. Even Raw, you could summon it off Raw. That's about it, I think. Raw and plug-in, I think. Then I use my big insect as my normal. Look, you can cut this. This can be a side card. I am running, I think it's a 49 card deck. But you do run a lot of one-offs that you do want to search, and any combination is fine, but you don't want to open a whole bunch of one-offs, right? Because otherwise you're just kind of like bricking on stuff. But I never really bricked in this deck at all. I think there was one point where I had 3 normal summons, and I still won. Because you just fix your hand by getting rid of stuff. But Big Insect, it's because he's got 1200 attack, which means you can pretty much pop anything in the game. After that point, B-Trooper Sting Lancer. This thing is a DD Crow. You target an insect in your graveyard, target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle back. I did do this on my turn once when I got Fooler or Purlian. So I put the Purlia back and put one of my insects back and then summoned him so I could get the counter trap. With extra body, and I got the counter trap. And so because he just adds any B-Trooper spell trap, which is cool. And then 1 Praying Mantis. On field during a standby phase, he'll summon a token, but you can banish him from graveyard, add a token. So he's just an extender as well. Something good to send off the Resident Insect banish. So you've got like 3 good ones, which is like Goki Pole, Butterfly if you don't add it, and Praying Mantis are all really good dumps. And Scary Moth. So Scary Moth, and Goki Pole are all good dumps off of Resonant Insect. But normally in most hands, you're opening probably at least one of them, like realistically. So they're getting dumped probably off of the Rapier, or you're summoning it off of your Link 2. This one here is probably the least important because I never got to summon it, but he is in there for recycling purposes. You shuffle back 3 of your banished insect monsters, summon it. He's also huge, by the way. 3k, 3k. Once per turn during the end phase, you can take one of the insect monsters you control, it gains 1,000 attack. So you just simply make stuff bigger and bigger. It clearly is a follow-up card, which is good, but I never found that I needed follow-up cards. But I still think it's probably pretty good to play. And then hand traps are 3 draw, 1 nib. I would like the nib to go up. I don't like nib. I hate nib. I think nib makes non-games. But I did open him 3 times on Friday, and he put in work every single time. And I was like, well, I don't like it, but I put the 1 in just so then I have a cross-out target for it as a cross-out target. But I think I should play 2 just so that I always have a cross-out target for it because I keep drawing the stupid thing. So that annoyed me. But yeah, so that's like all the monsters. It's kind of nuts. And then we'll go into the spells now. Just to think like just how many, like I think there are so many broken effects in this deck, and it's just like it is really consistent. It's sure sometimes it dies to troll, sometimes it dies to nib, but I think a lot of decks do. And with how good this deck is, in my mind, from once again, like I'm not a great duelist, I'm not perfect or anything like that. I make mistakes, but to win as much as I did with this, and it's got time cards in the main. You should never lose to time either. So why more people aren't messing with this deck is kind of crazy. So for the spells, we got 3 Armed Rebellion. This one's nuts. This is a new, just a random common. Special one monster with 1,000 to attack from your hand or deck. Then if you special from the deck, you can send one monster you control to the graveyard. So you can summon Resonance Insect and send Resonance Insect and then add a level 5 or higher. It immediately just starts your plays because then you can add Rapier. like it's crazy. It's crazy. This card's nuts. And then the second effect I don't think I ever used. Your face-up insect synchro monster you control to throw a battle card effect with this card in your graveyard. You can banish this card, add 1 Summoning Swarm. So I never bothered with that because it required Summoning Swarm, and I don't think Summoning Swarm is necessary. That's Sting the Poison, by the way. That's cool. 2 Battle Wasp Wind. Twice per turn. Soft. Twice per turn. If a Battle Wasp is summoned, you target one of them. Add a Battle Wasp with less attack than the monster from the deck to the hand. So it chain blocks Sting if you go that route with it, because normally you're adding Sting off the first Battle Wasp Wind effect when you go Rapier. But with this, you activate this twice because it can only be activated once per turn. But Rapier's effect places it, and then you get it back to hand, and then you activate it, and then you get 4. And it also turns 1 insect monster into a tuner, which is nuts. Beetrooper Landing. This is a fusion card. I never needed it. I don't think you need to play this, but I do think that there's a side card that you should play. I think it's called Beetrooper Descent, which summons a token and then pops a spell trap on your opponent's side of the field. This deck can't deal with back row very well. I'll tell you right now, I would have had a better time dealing with the Blue Eyes player if I could have pissed off True Light earlier. I never got to deal with True Light at all until I wiped the entire board with the Synchro 12. But by that point, he was like, all right, next game. So realistically, I think if you do want to main Beetrooper spell card, you want to go with Descent, I think, so you can pop back row. Just because this never ever came up, ever. Because I'm only ever fusing once. In the long combo, in the really long combo, right? You do go through this to fuse both fusions, the 5 and the 8, I think it is. But realistically, it's overkill by that point. Keep as many cards as you can in your hand for follow-up. You're fine with Cicada King, Stag Beetle, Scary Moth Engrave, the Banish, and the board wipe. Like, realistically, that's not enough. Your opponent deserves to win. And you can also get to a counter trap through all this as well, depending on what your hand plays out like. But I didn't think this was necessary at all. 1 talent. So this is going to be my anti-nib for all these rogue decks that I'm going to be playing because, I'm just playing trash and they just kind of die to like nib and droll. So it's 1 talents, 1 designator, and then the nib, of course. And I'll just play a placeholder droll. One gold sark. Found it to be better than, and this is kind of the reason why I played 3 Resonance Insect. I found that this line was better than Foolish Burial. Was gold sark banish Resonance Insect to then put Goki Pole in the grave and go that way, rather than putting Resonance Insect in the grave and then banishing it later on, which is a better line, I think. In my mind, through testing it was anyway. But Foolish Burial could be better if you just need to get names engraved. So, or if you get stopped, you're like, well, I still got access to Cicada King, I can still dump a Scary Moth. So maybe Foolish Burial could be in this spot. Or you just play both, I don't care. A Called By, because why not? It's a giant combo deck, you should probably be playing Called By. Instant Fusion for the 1 level 5 fusion. So if you do have access to this, it can extend and get you a B Trooper card, which is nice. And then for traps, it's Hunting Nets, which is just a pop. You add it off of Mantis Monk. And then on the next turn, if an insect gets destroyed, you can banish this and pop a monster your opponent controls. And then B Trooper Flying Sting, it's a counter trap that you have to control a B Trooper though, it does suck. But negate the activation of a monster effect, destroy it. And then during your end phase, if this card's in your graveyard, you control an insect monster. With 3,000 more attack, you can banish 1 monster from your graveyard, 1 insect monster from your graveyard, set this card. But it can't be done the turn it was sent. So you're doing that like this is like a grind game situation. And then 3 imperm. Also good cross out target. Just genuinely good into boards because we've got so many cards. So that's the main. I think that's 49. I think it's 49. But yeah, and it worked well. Like I said, I don't think I really bricked it all. Maybe my sample size is too small with 2 locals, so maybe I should play more. But I do think when I get to the point of going back to bigger events again, I will probably pick this up as a serious contender for YCSs and stuff. And then just practice it a bit longer, just because it fits a tournament deck so well because it has really long combos and it can burn for time, which means that, and it can play through multiple hand traps, which it has done multiple times, and it breaks boards quite well. It has all the makings for a really good competitive deck. I don't know why people don't play it, maybe because it's insects and they're just like, oh, stupid bugs. But right now, Malice dies to a Lancia, and people play it more than anything. But of course, Ryziel. But Ryziel's a different issue. No 1 card beats Ryziel, I think, and I think that's the issue. So for the extra, it's 1 B Trooper Armor Horn. You're locked into insects pretty much straight away, so don't even think about playing other crap. During your main phase, immediately after this phase rolls normal summon. Just a free normal summon link 2. And if he's in the graveyard, you can banish 3, which we know banishing Resonance is great, to summon back. I think 3 is a bit steep, but there have been times where I did banish 2 Resonance Insects off it, and then got 2 dumps, and then it just pretty much just fixed everything. I think this can be played at 2 for follow-up reasons, and because when he leaves the field after he's summoned back from the graveyard, he does get banished. So unless you get into that big B Trooper one that recycles back 3, it just doesn't. You're just not getting it back. 2 Injector Picafolina. She recycles as well, but on summon you discard a card, target one of the insect you control, equip insect monster to it as an equip spell, which means you equip Resonance Insect, then you link everything off into like Mantis Monk most likely, Resonance Insect goes to the grave, you add another bug. It's great. Normally you add Crawler, it's great, right? But you can target 3 insect monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them to the deck, draw 1 card. So normally you shuffle back all your B-Troopers. The reason why this is played at 2 is so you can do this on the following turn as well. Even if you don't get the equip, you can still put a whole bunch of your one-offs back into the deck. Like you keep your crawlers in your graveyard, never move out, and try and get your synchros and stuff back into the extra deck, I think, on a follow-up turn if you are going into a grind game. So there's the link 2s. Mantis Monk. He's semi-generic because he doesn't include only insects, which means like Nib can be used, Droll can be used, if you econ one of their stuff or talents one of their things, still going to Mantis, which is nice. Banish 2 insect or plants or reptiles. Add a Ragnarok trap. This card's in your graveyard. Target one insect, monster, insect, plant, or reptile you control. Place it on the bottom deck. Summon this. He doesn't get banished afterwards, so you can use every single turn. So that means one stop normal summon or anything like that, or you get drawn or whatever. It can still get you back to a link 3, and can get you to stag. I don't think stag's always the best to end on, because I think stag's way better in a simplified game state, because he's huge. He's just massive. Seraphim Papillon. I don't think this card's needed, but it is, once again, 2 monsters with different names, 2+ monsters with different names. Because the issue is that you put counters on in one turn and then summon back on the next turn. So this works really well. I think you could play Scale Bomber. We're not playing Scale Bomber, so we don't really get the we don't really get the Ghost Ogre effect. But if you do have Scary Moth Engrave, it's like, you can't even do Scary Moth. It's level 4 or lower. So realistically, I do not think that this needs to be played in this deck. If you're playing Scale Bomber, I think it's fine, because then if you had to play through a bunch of hand traps and this is all you could end on, and you've got Scale Bomber and Grave, you can still bring it back. Scout Buggy is kind of the same. You can bring back Scout Buggy, bring back summon another Scout Buggy, and then you've got like 5 monsters on board in case your opponent can't break through. So that's not too bad. It's fine as well, because then you can summon on their turn, and if it stays alive, you can summon on your turn as well. So maybe it's still playable, but I never summoned it, never needed to. But then maybe I was just lucky enough not to be put in those situations. Giant B-Trooper Invincible Atlas. This thing's the coolest thing ever. I love this thing. Untargetable with card effects, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, whilst it has 3,000 or less attack. When it gets more, I don't know, maybe just after the effects that you've got here, you cannot spend it, then you lock in the insects, you can tribute one insect monster, then activate one of the effects. Special summon a B-Trooper monster from your deck, card gains 2,000 attack for the end phase. Right? Or until the end of this turn, so not to the end phase. So this means it can be messed with the whole time. But you can tribute the face down cards that you book off the Soma to then go into probably Buggy if you haven't opened it. Then you go into Buggy and then summon another Buggy and go into Cicada King, or you can go into the big guy to get the counter trap depending on what your opponent's playing. It's up to you, but I do think that this card's nuts. And then if you're looking for bodies just to make stuff big, he can make himself 5k. Crazy. This is Stag Beetle. Stag Beetle. Link 5, you think it's kind of hard, but the fact that both the Link 3 and the Link 2 can come back, you make Stag Beetle decently often. If your opponent summons from the deck or the extra deck, you just pop 2 monsters, except for the damage step. Pop 2 monsters on the field. If they only have 1 card on their field, or if they only have 1 monster on their field from that summon, you have to pop 1 of your own. It's not up to, it is 2. So you have to pop 1 of your own if that happens. And then he summons back the same way Mantis Monk does, which is kind of crazy that, one normal summon that doesn't do anything. Because this means this means like any normal summon just is a Link 5 and it's already engraved. So your grind game in this game is really nuts, because you've always got big bodies, and up to 2 pop, crazy. Because it doesn't even matter if it pops itself if you think it's going to end the turn, because 1 insect's enough just to go, oh, he's back. Then Synchros, we've got Sachi. She turns herself into a tuner on summon. You never do it. You can return once per turn. This is the important effect. You can return 1 continuous spell you control to the hand. Normal summon 1 monster, battle wasp monster during your main phase this turn. Okay, so she is an extra normal summon of battle wasp, which is all your plays, but she resets wind. You put wind to hand, summon wind, and then do it again. So twice. So 4 times you get searches off of wind. And then she also burns up to the number of battle wasps that are banished. You will normally never have battle wasps banished, because you should always keep them engraved so you can shuffle them back off Piccofolina, because they are very free shufflebacks. Diabolantis, the Amazing Mantis. Didn't really go through him a lot in the sense of to use his effect, but he does just dump any insect. Up to the number of non-tuners. So you've always got like 1 non-tuner, and then you send 1 insect, so you can start your Goki Pole plays, get your Prone Mantis online, get your Scary Moth ready for Cicada King, Butterfly can go in there, whatever, it's fine. Then you can also target 1 insect, make it a tuner. So you make him a tuner, and then you go into this guy. You go into Grand Partisan the Revolution. He cannot be destroyed by card effects, gains 200 attack for every banished insect monster. All your Synchros do, so remember that, because this guy here is pretty recursive. And then if this card is banished, you can special summon it, destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of battle or banished insect monsters, then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed. So he's a burn card, he's a board wipe, he's huge, you summon him back all the time because you can banish constantly in this deck. Like Bear Groom, the Horn, that might be it. It's just Bear Groom and the Horn, right? Oh, no. Bear Groom, Horn. Yeah, Bear Groom and Horn. But still, you banish 2 off of the Ragnarok out, the Mantis Monk too. So normally you use him to link off. Like you'll get into him and then use him as material to link off, because then you can bring him back later by but you do it way later. You do it way later in case you get nibbed. Then you do that way later, and then you get nibbed, in case you get nibbed, and then he comes back. You know, can board wipe the nib depending on where they stop you. I do think this deck kind of dies if they nib you right at the end because you have no way of stopping it. But you know, they just wanted it more, I guess. But if you haven't used like Horn or anything yet, like if you're just looking at it going, well, I've got Big Dude, Fusion, Cicada King, maybe the Link 4 or whatever, and Scary Moth Engraved, that realistically, along with like the hunting dance, that should be enough to pass. Like don't overextend. I think people lose to overextension all the time. Xyz, 1 Cicada King, apparently I don't have one. Monster Negate on field, and then you discard 1 and either change an insect's battle position, or it gains 500 attack, or 500 defense, sorry. And then on a new chain, if this thing's if this thing's position is changed, you can summon back an insect from grave. Right? So you negate something on the field. It does target. So target negates, like imperm. Detach, target, negate, make 1 insect either gain 500 defense or change battle position. So you change this battle position, then you summon back any insect from grave. So that's Scary Moth, and then they're locked. Then they're only locked into 1 more summon. It's just like a better window. It requires way less, bigger setup, less materials, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah. Then fusions. Cruel Saturnus has a cool effect. Very rarely comes up, at least in my games. Adds a B-Trooper card from your deck to your hand, and then if an insect monster is banished face up, you can target one of your banished B-Trooper monsters, special summon it. So there's a bit of recursion you can have with a lot of the cards where you just don't lose them forever, which means look, like I said, I didn't get to use it. I saw the combos. It always seemed like too much. It seems like it's really good if you can instant fusion it out, or if you, I guess, just want to go into landing for some reason. But realistically, you always want to use that other monster to go into to this fusion, rather than using landing. I don't know. This is almost cuttable, but at the same time, I just see a situation where it will come up in like grind states. But with a board wipe and a burn every turn, you're probably doing okay. But this guy, Heavy Cavalry, can it be destroyed by your opponent's card effects? That's nice. If all face-up monsters use roll like insects, so you are locked into the insects for the effects of this as well, as in like you can't have a nib on board to get this off. Quick effect: you can target 2 monsters on the field, including an insect monster you control, banish them. So you target this, and then 1 other card your opponent controls, banish both, summon back this, board wipe, and then GG's from there. And then I was also playing 1 Ultimate Great Insect. I shouldn't have been. This is a way to send off stuff that's equipped with a Resident Insect. The Resident Insect, to get the Resident Insect to grave. This is on board, then you get a body. Also 3k, big guy, whatever. We don't run the field spells, so we don't get the other effect. Your opponent runs field spells, but chances are it's never going off. This should have been the generic Link 2 insect, the Shinobi Mantis or whatever it is. Because it just requires 2 different names, and then you've got an insect on board. So that's the extra. And then for side, it's a pretty standard side, I think. 3 econ, 2 talents with the targets of Harpies and Necrofusion. So the thought process of this is like, if you know your opponent's playing Nib, like you want to give yourself as much opportunity to play around Nib, at least, because you're probably not playing or play through it. But realistically, you want to be able to play. And so the thought process of this is the same with Branded Fusion. When you got Ash, you go Thrust into Fusion Dupe, and then just play on your opponent's turn. So with this, and like Thrust or whatever, if you get nibbed, you can still, normally you've still got Haunting Grave, you can banish the 12, bring the 12 back, get rid of the nib, triple tapped for Necrofusion. Then on your opponent's turn, you can fuse into this with graveyard stuff. And then you've got your board wipe set up again. A banish and a board wipe set off is through a nib. If you know that's the way it's gone. Will that work all the time? I never pulled it off. Never needed to pull it off. I didn't get nibbed. I did get nibbed once, I think, and I think I came back perfectly fine. But yeah, so that was the idea behind that. I think it works well. This should probably be at 3 though. And this is probably the card that you'd cut for it. Insect Invitation turns all your opponent's monsters into insects, as long as they won't summon that turn, which means it's like a going second card with like a super poly potentially. But realistically, you can target 3 of your banished insect monsters, shuffle the deck, draw 1 card. So it's ways of like continuing on. I don't think it's worth it. I never wanted to sign it in because also it's like this would work fine if you already had the Supply Squad dude, the fusion monster in hand. So then you can play this, your opponent starts going, and then you can negate stuff and summon stuff at the same time when you try and like bait out stuff. But it's a continuous, so you know you're gonna have a hard time with that. One humongous, it's searchable off of Resonance Insect Going to Grave, so you just have a searchable kaiju. Why not play it? I had another Ragnaraka track target in the side, so to swap out in case like popping stuff just doesn't work. It just banishes 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard, and then you can shuffle 2 insects or reptiles or plants from your graveyard or banishment to the deck, and if you do, set the card. So honestly, half of me thinks this might be better over Hunting Dance. Does Hunting Dance have the same effect to shuffle stuff back? No, it banishes itself if something gets destroyed. So arguably, I think this is almost mainable because I think a lot of stuff happens in graveyard at the moment. And then this here lets you you can just do it constantly. This here is a long stay, right? But it is a continuous because it's a monster. But then you just link it off, right? Link it off, reset it. Your opponent's turn, you get another double DD Crow. That's pretty neat. I think that's mainable over Hunting Dance in the current format. 2 Judgments, because I love Judgment. I don't think it's needed, but like it's realistically, it's like the deck's fine going first, but you don't want to lose to Evenly or anything like that. And then 3-4. I got a second one. I actually got a third one sitting around here somewhere because I pulled another one. So I've got a full playset of Fools now, with both 2 of them being from Rhoda. I bought a random one-off pack from the card store and it had a Fool in it. Sick. So that was the side. Standard stuff. I think the Econs and the Fools are pretty standard at this point. The Judgment's pretty standard at this point. I like those cards. I'm going to play them a lot. Like I said, so only changes I think for this deck would be you could probably add a Foolish over this. You would want to go probably a second nib at least, so then your cross-app's always live. Change the crawler target potentially to spine because they do stuff when they get flipped. This here is the best normal summon, but it could be sided if you don't want to main it because it is technically a brick if you do. But it's also like you can dump it off of Rapier. Retaliating Sea I think is unnecessary in the current format because you're never going to get both effects off. And technically Resonance Insect is just better. Because it only adds an Earth Insect with 1500 less attack from your deck. Which I guess adds 4s, but you're going through Goki Pole, so maybe you swap this out for a second Goki Pole. But Goki Pole's once per turn. Butterfly's fine, Goki Pole's good, Beggar and blah 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 blah. Maybe this could potentially go to 2, because I never need to go through 3, but once again, grind games are a thing. And yeah, that's about it. I think that's all that really needs that would change. In a deck like this, I think it's really we get scalp over here on top. I think it's really good. I think it's horribly underlooked. Realistically, I think it's horribly underlooked. Probably horribly undertested too. But I do think from what I've seen online, the deck has probably been exhausted when it comes down to what it can be playing. But that is still a lot of individual random inset cards that do not have archetypal names that can be played in a deck like this, which you will not get with other decks. Like what Ryzel has some sharks it can play. Malice has the Bestials is an archetype. But other than like Dotscaper, you're only ever really playing in most decks. You're really only ever playing like 1 or 2 non-engine, like non-archetypal names to kind of keep the engine going. But in this case, there's a lot, and they're all really, really, really good. Like your whole, like technically you'd call it like a Battle Wasp deck, with have a lot of Battle Wasps in it. But realistically, the whole thing runs through Resonance Insect, which isn't a Battle Wasp. So, but yeah, that's the list. Let me know what you think. I think one person's really interested in this. But yeah, I would definitely go back to this deck with almost this list. I think when I do go back to events and start going to bigger things again, this might be something that I mess with as like a proper thing. I do not think it's rogue. I would probably tier it, to be honest. I don't even know what rogue deck is anymore because people keep calling everything rogue. Because they keep calling Rise of Yield tier 0, but it's not. It's not tier 0. It's tier 1 along with Malice and Blue Eyes. Right, just slightly better than those ones, but you know they win just as much. Whatever. It just depends on who wins the first one, right? But you never know if they just played a bunch of crap at the start. But I think this is a good contender for a competitive deck. I'm not even joking. Like it's hyper consistent, wins in time, pisses your opponent off because the combo is too long. It has a board wipe in there. Yeah, it has a half board. A lot of decks don't have half boards that aren't just floodgates, right? Like, and this has a floodgate in it. It has Scare Him Off, but a lot of half boards are like, oh, I'm just going to go into Baguska, or I'm just going to end on like a Griffin or something like that. So then it floodgates your opponent. But even the half boards on this is still like a board wipe and a banish, or a pop 2 and a Cicada King negate, or you know what I mean? Like you got to get hand trapped a lot to really like struggle to get back into the game. Once again, all hand dependent, but yeah, I think there's a lot of promise in a deck like this, and I think it just needs to be messed with more. But yeah, from there we'll stop, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.